So now I'm really excited to show you two of my very favorite Instant Pot recipes. To prove they're my favorite, we're actually making them to eat at my birthday party tonight. So would I kid you about these being my favorite? So let's get started. I'm using both the 6-quart and the 8-quart Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. Happy to give you my discount code for $50 off either, aj@instantpot.com. The coupon code box appears on checkout, not at the beginning. If you don't have one, you have to get one. No excuses anymore about why you don't have time to eat healthy. This will save you so much time and money in the long run. If you don't have either, please get the 8-quart because you're going to see that for some of these recipes it would be really hard. So in one of these recipes, you have an option to either saute the onion or to just dump everything in. And when I'm in a hurry, which is most of the time, I just dump everything in. But because we have a little time now, I'm going to show you how you can actually saute without oil in the Instant Pot. It's very easy. It just will take a little bit longer than throwing everything in. But as far as the flavor difference, I've never compared them side by side, and the soup is delicious both ways. This is my smoky butternut bisque. It has so few ingredients, easy to find, and it's probably my favorite soup now. We have it at least once a week, twice a week, because a single recipe makes about 10 cups. So for my husband and I, we eat about 2 to 3 cups per serving. We eat it over rice, and it's very satisfying, starch-based, delicious. So we have the Instant Pot plugged in. We're going to be using the 6-quart. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm lazy and because onions make me cry and make Gustavo cry too, because he had cut one for me.
I did. I cried quite a long time.
He's a big cry baby.
Yeah.
So I'm just using the pre-cut onions at Trader Joe's. It's 10 ounces. Now I'm doubling this recipe because we got a bunch of people coming tonight. So normally I would just use one bag, but you're going to get the recipe for just one bag. But you can certainly double it.
And you're also lucky that you live next door to a Trader Joe.
That's why I can't move. That is really the main reason.
That's the main reason.
And so I'm just going to push the saute button. I don't know if you can get a close-up. There's a bunch of buttons on the Instant Pot. Usually I just use manual.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to push saute. And now I don't have to add anything. I'm just going to saute.
You don't put water.
I don't put water. Now, as we go along, if it starts to brown a little bit, which I like because then we get those yummy brown bits, then we'll add water. That beep that it does at the beginning just says, hey, is this what you want from me? Yeah, this is what I want. So this might take a few minutes to warm up, and in the meantime, we'll start the next recipe. So I call this Instant Patatouille. Get it? It's like an Instant Pot, and it's supposed to be ratatouille. So if you remember the very first webinar, our very first date that Gustavo and I did together about 1.5 years ago, actually, somebody thought we went to he went to the dentist with me the other day because I had some, and they thought he was my husband. So
we didn't say anything.
Yeah, we just you know.
Just mine.
So he was holding Bailey. That's probably why. So anyway, I love ratatouille. I grew up living in a home where my aunt was French-Swiss, and her mother was a Cordon Bleu graduate who owned a 5-star restaurant in Switzerland, and she'd make ratatouille, which I love, but it always a little bit too liquidy for me. So that's how I developed the oven-roasted ratatouille, which you can watch in the very first webinar we did together called Easy Meals to Keep You Thin. And that's a great recipe. I love it, but I don't always have an hour to roast it because I pack my trays so full when I'm roasting vegetables. Sometimes it takes 45 minutes to an hour. So I wanted the flavor of ratatouille without the time. So I made an Instant Patatouille. But then I realized P-O-T is also the first 3 letters of potato. And this ratatouille is sort of very soupy because the vegetables cook down. So we always added brown rice to it because you always need to add starch to your vegetables for satiety, right? So I thought today I'm going to do something different. And if it doesn't work, just follow the written recipe. But I thought, why not put potatoes in it? Then I won't have to put the rice in it. So get it Instant Patatouille, like potato ratatouille. So one of the things I do is I always cut stuff up in advance. That's called your mise en place because otherwise it's just too hard. I knew I was making this, so we cut this up last night. And these are all my vegetables that I'm going to be using in the ratatouille. So it's the same thing from my oven-roasted ratatouille. The yellow crookneck squash, the green zucchini, we used organic. I like to use the Chinese or the Japanese eggplant because it's just easier to cut and it all stays the same shape, the round one. But you can use the other one. I find the other ones have more seeds and to me they taste a little bitter, but I actually prefer the Japanese, which are light purple. All I could get this time was the Chinese. I've got the red onion. I've got the orange bell pepper. So it's sort of like a rainbow. But one of the things I did different, though, is I decided just to add some hardiness. I added some portobello mushrooms. And so I have a 1/2 cup of water already in the Instant Pot. And now I'm just going to put all my vegetables in that I cut up in advance. And you know, a lot of these you can get already cut up depending on where you live, but it didn't take all that long.
And that's the big one. That's the big pot.
That's the big Instant Pot. And the reason is this recipe will fit fine in the 6-quart, but because I'm deciding to add 1.5 pounds of potatoes today, I needed to use this one. I sure hope a double recipe will do this. So now, for the other recipe, it's starting to make a little sizzling noise. And so, you know, every now and then I just give it a stir, but I'm not going to worry about it. So now I'm going to add 2 cans of the Muir Glen fire roasted tomatoes. I like the fire roasted, a little bit more flavor, but they have salt-free without fire roasting. And I'm going to add 2 cans, but I want to show you the second can. So we've got 2 of these. Hopefully I remember to put it in the right recipe. Put it right on top. And some garlic. I don't have garlic in my original oven roasted ratatouille, but you certainly could. These are 6 large cloves minced. I'm just going to throw it in. And now I have decided to add 1.5 pounds of cut up potatoes. I think it's going to work. We'll know soon. This is how you try.
Right.
This is why I needed the large one. Now, originally, the recipe only needed 5 minutes to cook, but because I've got such a full pot, and because I have so many potatoes, I'm thinking maybe I should do 10 minutes.
I think 10.
Just to err on the side of caution, you know. And the thing is you really, unless you're steaming greens or vegetables, you really can't mess up a pressure cooking recipe. If it's not enough time, you can always add. So that's all the spices we're going to use, but then when it's done, Gustavo did this for me. He chiffonaded the basil using another one of my favorite kitchen tools. It was a gift from Sharon McRae. So we're just going to do this, and we're going to actually brown the oven. Brown the onion, not brown the oven. And so this is going to take a few minutes. It's much quicker if you don't do it this way, but I want to teach you that it's just as easy to saute in the stainless steel pot of the Instant Pot as in a pot on the stove. So this is a smoky butternut bisque, so we need butternut squash. Now, at my Costco, they have butternut squash 5 1-pound steamable bags. This is organic, and this is much cheaper, believe it or not, than the fresh. So few ingredients in this soup, and because these are ingredients I always have on hand, onion, garlic, the butternut squash in my freezer, and the only other ingredient is pears. Wow. Now these are unsweetened, I'll tell you. Gustavo, I don't know if you can see that it's a little bit getting brown on the bottom here. Okay, but we like that. We actually like that.
That is what
That's how
flavor.
it is. So if you feel it's burning, you just add just that much, a little bit. And that's what you do if you're sauteing on your stove. But see, I want the onion brown as if I were, you know, doing that. And don't worry, those little bits, it won't stick. And you just stir it around, and that's that. Now, I don't saute the garlic because garlic has a tendency to burn. I will put it in after. So I'm just going to let that dry out again. So while this is doing its thing, I will talk about the spices. Now, I'm going to be putting in some garlic. And, you know, when you hear recipes, when it says, you know, 1 clove of garlic, this is the problem, guys. This is from the same, I always buy my garlic peeled because I don't have time. And in this little thing, look at the difference.
I know.
So when it says 6 cloves of garlic, is it 6 of this or 6 of this? That's why I think garlic is one of those things you should use as much or as little as you like. So it's sort of an average. What would be more accurate if we said, you know, 1 tablespoon of peeled garlic, of chopped garlic, but, you know, I don't worry about that. And people that don't like it, you know, you could leave it out. I have a friend that's allergic, but the problem is because all my recipes are SOS-free, sugar-free, oil-free, and salt-free. I find that in savory recipes without onion and garlic, I can't get the flavor profile I need for people to really love it. Now, one of the things I do use that seems to help, at least when other people eat my food, is the Benson's Table Tasty. They have a whole line of salt-free seasonings that are very good, but this is the only one without black pepper, to which I'm allergic, but it's also the one that is the most salty. 10% off with code Chef AJ. Come to the Vegas conference. She's going to be there. You can taste all the spices in person. So, you know, I use my ear. When I hear that sizzling, then I just add, you know, maybe that was a tablespoon just to get it to it. So I can get this as brown, as caramelized as I want, and I don't have to dirty another pan. But you really don't need oil to saute. You don't really need anything except for, you know, a little bit of water from time to time, or sometimes no sodium or low sodium vegetable broth. And, you know, Sharon McRae has the waterless cookware. I've done a couple of Facebook Lives on my page with the representative. I haven't quite mastered that yet, but that's another way that you don't need to use oil. So the spices I have, and again, I always measure my spices out. I usually keep them in jars for recipes I do every week. It's only 3 spices. It's smoked paprika, which is my favorite spice. It's the Benson's Table Tasty. And of course, feel free to use any other salt-free seasoning. But remember, my recipes were done with Benson, so it may not taste exactly like mine. And chipotle powder. Now, my favorite spice in the world is smoked paprika, which is completely different than paprika that hasn't been smoked, or Hungarian paprika, which is very good. But the smoking just brings out something. Look at this. Look, guys, it's almost. We could keep going and make it really brown. I don't think we need to because we want to get the soup started. But you can see that you can totally saute in your Instant Pot. It smells so good when you saute in an onion. And one day I will do an experiment side by side and see if it makes a difference. But for now, we want to get the soup going. Just get that last bit up. There we go. And we can keep going, get this dark, dark brown. But this is great. Yeah. So now I'm going to add my garlic and actually all my other ingredients at this point. I'm going to turn off the saute button by just pressing off. I'm going to add 6 cups of water. And I hope everything fits because I only have one 8-quart pressure cooker. I'm going to add my 4 pounds of cubed butternut squash. And by the way, you can do this with a whole butternut squash, but you're going to have to cook it first. So those can take an hour or so to cook. And it might give you a new flavor or more depth of flavor to actually roast the butternut squash first. But when I did this recipe at True North and couldn't find the cubes, I just roasted the entire butternut squash in the 8-quart Instant Pot. But you have to take the seeds and the skin out. And again, that takes time. So since this is a blended soup, I'm just going to pour the garlic in whole. I've got my spices already measured out, which I recommend you do. Put those in and don't waste any of them. And then now my pears. Remember, I am doing a double recipe because a single recipe only makes 10 cups of soup, which is not very much.
So this is already double.
Yeah, I've doubled this, and it actually does fit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's a little bit less, so I'm going to put 2 more in from here. And that's that. Super easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Top goes on. You always want to put it around 11 o'clock, and that's how you get it to fit. Put the sealing on, and then we're doing the manual button. And this only takes 5 minutes, this soup, but
really?
Because I've done a double recipe and it's a little bigger, let's just go up to 8. And then we're going to hear that beep saying, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Yeah, that's what I want. Say it, beep. Come on. All right. There we go. It always mocks me. And we'll come back and show you what these look like when they're finished.
Very good. All right.
Our smoky butternut bisque is ready, so I'm going to release the pressure right away. And I want to show you over here that I decided to add 2 cups of brown rice to my Instant Pot Ratatouille, and it's going to make it even better. I don't like soupy soups. I like things more thick, like gumbos. So this is 2 cups. You could add 4, you could add 3, you could add none. I always have frozen brown rice in my freezer, so it was really easy, because this is how I'm going to enjoy it.
Okay.
You guys know that saying, a watched pot never boils? Well, a watched Instant Pot never releases. We stood here for 4 minutes waiting for it to release, which is a safety feature, so it's released on its own recognizance. So we're going to open it up. Wow, look at that. That was a full Instant Pot. And so now what I'm going to do is add about 1.5 cups of almond milk. You can add anywhere. This is a double recipe. So for a single recipe, you can add as little as 1/2 cup or as much as a cup, depending on, how thick you like it. And everything will just blend into this beautiful smoky bisque, this orange puree. Oh, so good. Freeze it because you're going to want to eat it every day. So, again, I could puree it less if you want it chunky, but I do like bisque to be smooth. And you could also puree this in your Vitamix or blender if you have one, just very carefully. So there we go. This is, there's a little piece there. This is so if you want to know what I eat for my birthday, I don't go out. That is for sure. Restaurants are the kiss of death. They're expensive. You can't get a compliant meal, and you sure can't get delicious food like you make at home. Okay, they don't give me enough at restaurants. So now, the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. So let's look for our little scoopity-doo. And oh, look at this. A little bit of the spice got caught on there. So let's put that down. We want every bit of that nice smoky paprika and chipotle powder. There we go. It just got in my eye. And of course you can add a little bit more on top for a garnish. So what I like to do, because I like texture, I don't like things to just be smooth, is I like to add a little chopped onion on top. Now I've got this really cool mini onion chopper. It's a Tupperware thing because I like it finely chopped. So you just, Gustavo chopped this for a different recipe and it's fine for that recipe. But for soup, I want to make it a little bit finer. And look at this, especially if you have arthritis or something, look at this. There's a couple of holes and you've got finely diced onion. You can use this for garlic. Is that not beautiful? Look at that.
Where did you get
Tupperware.
Okay, I've got to
Maybe I'll give you one for a present because I did buy a few extra. Look at that. So let's just put a little onion on top. If you don't mind me just reaching over. You know, you eat with your eyes. Well, not literally, obviously. A little bit of smoke. Just a little bit. Hold on, come on. Come on out. Not too much, just to make it look pretty. And then we're going to have this beautiful, can you see?
Let's see if we can lower.
Whoops. Beautiful, there we go. Beautiful soup. And again, would be even more delicious with some rice. It's very hot. I'll let you try it.
Let's try it by itself.
And this thing has a top, so I can just take this very, very sharp blade out and then put my little Tupperware top on it. So now it can stay in the fridge.
This is one of the best.
Yeah, and you've had the creamy curried kabocha. And the creamy curried kabocha, the last one we invented together, Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer had, and they loved it. So I think they're going to like this one.
And this one is very good.
So
very good.
I think you'll enjoy it.
All right. Well, have fun making it.
All right. Hi, so I want to show you a new salad dressing that I conceived when I was teaching at Rancho La Puerta in Mexico. It's a wonderful 5-star resort that always is voted the top spa destination by a magazine, or I don't know if it's a magazine, it's something called Condé Nast, but put it on your bucket list. You need to go there. It's the coolest place. You can get compliant food, and I'll be teaching there the last week of June if you want to join me. I do hands-on cooking classes and lecture. So we were walking through the organic garden, and I just had this idea for a dressing. And it's simple, it's easy, the ingredients are available pretty much anywhere all year round, and there's only 4 or 5 of them. So you'll need a blender. It doesn't have to be a high-powered blender for this one, but I happen to have one, so I'm going to use it. So these are organic strawberries that Gustavo cut the green part off. And, you know, Michael Greger, Dr. Michael Greger eats the tops of strawberries. I saw him do it. And, you know, if I'm using blending, I probably would. We probably could have, but we just have it. So this is 1 pound of organic strawberries. I think it's about 4 cups, but it's just easy because they generally come in 1 pound containers. So we're going to put all of them in. I call this strawberry fiesta dressing. And so now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of chopped red onion. Now I might add more, but I want to show you something. Just like I showed you before, that garlics vary in the size of the clove. Onion can vary in how strong it is. You know that, right, Gustavo? And so sometimes they're mild and sometimes they're not. So I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons because remember, you can always add. You can't take away. Now this is going to have a jalapeno pepper. So let me show you about cutting them. You first want to cut the hot part of the pepper, or the seeds. So what you want to do is, if you don't want it hot, because we want this a little bit hot, but not super hot, is we take out the seeds and don't use them. And again, just like with the onion, I don't know how much I'm going to put in, because unless I taste it, this could be a super hot pepper or it could be a more mild pepper. So usually I start with about a half. Of course, it depends what size it is. So what I'm going to do now is I have 4 little segments here. Make sure I got all the seeds gone. And then I'm going to move this away, and I'm going to rinse my hands right away. See that? There we go. Very important. I'm going to put in the half, the one this size. You know, I always say the size of my thumb. You might have a bigger thumb. And then we've got some lime juice. Oh, so good. All good ingredients. And we're going to put in 4 tablespoons of lime juice. There we go. Now, of course, sometimes strawberries are very sweet and sometimes they're less sweet. So my recommendation is if you felt like you needed a little bit more sweet, add a date. fitted date, of course. You can see how quick and easy that was to make. Now, it's not soup. It's not a smoothie. The only ingredient I'm going to add, unless it needs more onion or jalapeno, is some chia seeds to thicken it. It's a great way to get your omega-3 fatty acids. But first, I'm going to taste it. One of the ways they taught us to taste in culinary school, so we could reuse our spoon, is to just take a little drop like this. Ooh, look, it already is pretty thick, even without the chia seed. Look at that. Ooh, I like it. Now, I think it's perfect. Now, I've done this with raspberries, a bag of frozen organic raspberries, 1 pound bag. It's different. It's delicious. I call it root and toot and raspberry. When you use raspberries, you almost always need to add a date or two, just because raspberries are really less sweet. But you don't want to use a date? Why not use one of those pears I showed you? Those are really sweet. So this is fine for me, but hey, if you want to thicken it, chia seeds are like the natural thickener.
What is that?
These are chia seeds.
Oh, chia seeds.
And so I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons.
I thought you said cheese sticks.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Putting in 2 tablespoons. But again, don't add the chia seeds until you have the flavor the way you want it, because otherwise you'll get it thicker. And this will thicken. And this is just such a wonderful dressing to have in your fridge. You know, I don't know how long it lasts. I've had it up to, I mean, it doesn't last very long because we eat it. But people really, really like it. So I love to use these little, hey, our patatouille's ready, guys. Look at this. Now, it's going to thicken even more. If you feel this is too thick, then just add 1 tablespoon. Look at this. This is such strawberry fiesta. This is really going to wake up your salads. And it is not, it wasn't spicy, right, Gustavo?
No, it was not
just
at
was
all.
Flavorful.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we could even make Gustavo a little bit of a salad right now. So let's have. So you guys know, if you watch our webinars, that we did a what I eat in a week, or maybe it was a day, one of the 2, where I did the 7 or the 8 secrets to superior salad satisfaction. We always have a big Tupperware of salad. This is my small bowl, my 32 cup bowl. Usually it's in the 52 cup bowl, but since today's Purple Day in honor of my birthday, I wanted to use it. So I'm just going to put a little bit in here. Oh, this looks amazing.
And I'm wearing a shirt that has lots of purple too.
So I'm going to let Gustavo.
Okay.
Let's just put a. Oh, this looks so good. Look. And look how thick it got already. I might even put too many chia. It might be too much chia seeds. But I do this because it's just a great way to get our omegas. Look at that, you guys. Wow. Delicious.
Look at that.
I'll let you have that while I tend to the recipe at hand, because actually, guys, the Instant Pot has beeped, which means it's waiting for us. So the Instant Patatouille is ready, and, you know, it's up to you. You can release the pressure. If you let it come down to pressure naturally, it's going to continue cooking. And I like things to have sort of a toothsome feel, so generally I release it because I don't want my zucchini all mushy and my potatoes all mushy. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So it took about 3 or 4 minutes to release the pressure. And if you remember, when we started, the unit was all the way to the top. But look now, guys, it's not. Oh, that's my phone. Okay. So can you get a shot? Look at that. It's about halfway down. Look at that. Now, here's the thing. It smells so good. The potatoes are cooked perfectly. I love that I could take a recipe and make it better. Now, personally, there's a lot of liquid in here, and I would still add rice to this. The tester, look at this, tomatoes, and we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of the basil on top for him, just like this. And, but before we do that, you know what I love on this, and I'm going to show you how to make, is the faux parmesan. It's just a little bit, so good. It's like a faux cheese topping, but it's a low-fat version, that the enlightened version, not the one in a process with nuts. Let's put a little bit of basil on top. Look at that, you guys. And you may not feel it needs the rice. Do you want a spoon or a fork?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Fork is fine? Okay.
Let's see if I can.
I can hold it. Or we can put it right there.
Put it there.
I would taste it, but I got lipstick on.
Yes, no, you
so
can't
vain.
mess your.
So vain. Can't mess up the makeup. It took long to do it.
So this is.
This is so good. Maybe I don't need that half a cup of water. I just worry that if I don't put anything on the bottom of the Instant Pot, and I don't want to put tomato products on the bottom, I put them on the top. Good,
Oh,
huh?
yeah, it has a lot of
You think it needs some rice? Because
flavor.
we'll make some rice for this.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Right?
See,
Because of the potatoes.
Because of the, it's just
Right.
it has a lot of liquid. That's the only thing.
Right.
I was going to use the rice to just absorb.
But
the
then you
liquids.
could eat it with a spoon as,
That's true.
as a stew or
Because it could be
something.
instant patatouille soup if you
Uh-huh.
want. But it's delicious, guys. And I think that I'm going to taste this in a minute because I think it's going to be even better with the potatoes. I don't think there's any dish that can't be improved by the addition of potatoes. And I bet sweet potatoes would work too, or a combination.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is awesome. Has a lot of
Flavor, yeah.
Yes.
It's just so good, and it's a great way to eat more veggies, but still get your
The
starch.
eggplant.
Yeah, the eggplant's delicious.
Yeah.
And if you don't like one vegetable, then just leave it out or put one in you do like, you know. Delicious.
Very good.
Okay.
All right.
So what we do is we take equal amounts, these are 1 cup measures, of oats and nutritional yeast. I'm using the, whoops, spilling it all over after Gustavo just cleaned the kitchen. I'm using the unfortified, and I'm putting them both in the blender. So it's a little bit different than the recipe in unprocessed because that actually had a 1 to 2 ratio of nutritional yeast to oats, but the oats aren't quite as, you know, so you need more nutritional yeast. You know, if you think about what cheese is, it's basically fat and salt. So oats are pretty high in fat compared to things that have no fat. They have about 17 to 20% fat, so you're still getting a good amount of fat, just not 90% fat like the walnuts. Then I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of my favorite salt-free seasoning, which is Benson's Table Tasty. Now, I buy it in 2-pound bags because it's cheaper and I use so much of it. So I was just showing you the bottle. So 1 tablespoon, or it could be a little bit more if you like. Need that much more. And that's basically it. I'm using the Blendtec blender on this one because the Vitamix is being washed and you do not want 1 drop of liquid in here. You could probably do this in your food processor, but it doesn't process it as finely. If you like a chunkier texture, do it in your food processor fitted with the S-Blade. But regardless if you use your blender or your food processor, not 1 drop of water because you won't get a powder then. You'll get like a paste. So you just put it in. That was 10 seconds. And now you have this wonderful, wonderful little sprinkle that we put on our patatouille. We use this on steamed broccoli, takes it to the next level. Anytime we have a chili, the red lentil chili, you have to have this on your red lentil chili. This is just really, really yummy. Now, what I discovered since I did this on a previous webinar is you can kick it up a notch. So if you want it a little bit spicy, put a little bit of chipotle, the dried chipotle powder in it. That just a little, maybe a 1/16 of a tablespoon, maybe less. You put a little smoked paprika in here. You could put some sun-dried tomato powder in here, which you can buy or make yourself without salt. So you can make endless varieties of this. So faux Parmesan, keep some in your fridge and you'll be able to eat more veggies. So I'm really excited to show you what is now my favorite dressing. I always say this to you, this is my favorite, then I create something else that's my favorite, but at least it's my favorite dressing right now. And I've gotten really amazing feedback from people that have tried it, regular people. I test my recipe on regular people, not people that eat the Ultimate Weight Loss Program or people that eat SOS free. That's how I know they're good. Like we have a cleaning crew in my apartment building. I give it what I call the Maria test. It's like Mikey, if Maria won't eat it, then it doesn't become a recipe for you guys. I call this barefoot salad dressing because everybody that's tried it, it's knocked their socks off. And anything I can do to get you guys to eat more salad and more steamed vegetables, I'm going to do. So you need a blender. Doesn't have to be a high-powered one for this one. So we've got our blender right here. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make like a little slurry with the chia seeds. That's going to thicken it. And this, you don't have to do this, by the way, if you don't want to buy chia seeds. I like using chia seeds because I don't eat nuts, but I want to still get my omega-3 fatty acids, and I really don't like flax seeds. They taste like sawdust to me. I actually tested allergic to them, but chia seeds are really fun. They're high in omega-3 fatty acids. Anything they touch liquid, they gel, so you can make puddings and really fun sauces, and they're wonderful, and they're good for you. So right here I have 1/2 cup of liquid. The liquid I'm using is the unsweetened pear juice because this recipe calls for pears. If you don't want to do that, just use water. I've done that. That's fine. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of chia seeds. And I'm going to get that slurry started, just mixing it together because as it sits on the counter, it will thicken. I know that in the other dressing, I just put it right in, but that's because there wasn't really any other liquids in it other than just a very small amount of lime juice. So we're just going to get this to thicken, and that's going to just sit right there. So now I'm going to add my ingredients. Okay, so we're actually using 2 different kinds of vinegars, and I'm going to explain that in a bit. But the first one, 1 1/4 cup, is my go-to vinegar, Napa Valley Naturals. We'll talk about the difference in vinegars after I get this blended up. Next is 1/4 cup of an unsweetened rice vinegar. Next, 3/4 of a cup of lime juice. I'm using bottled organic, but feel free to use fresh all the time. And always think about adding the zest when you use fresh. It just gives it more of a oomph, especially when you're not using salt. Now we have 4 pear halves, and I'll show you the one I use without sugar. And again, you could use fresh, but let me tell you something, guys. They're not always in season. They're not always sweet, and these work great. So 4, if you wanted this dressing sweeter, you can use another pear half. I've used up to 5 if they've been small. I'm trying to get away from dates because I no longer consume them. As healthy as they are, they're 1,300 calories a pound, and for a lot of those of us that suffer from the disease of refined food addiction, they're certainly not as bad as sugar. They're a whole food, but they can be a trigger food for us, and they can often be even too sweet. But pears, I find, work really well. And now 4 cloves of garlic, and it's about 1/2 ounce, so throw that in. A cup of nutritional yeast. I'm using the unfortified because I was told that that is better because it's not fortified with folic acid. It is fortified with B12, which is good. We need that, especially as vegans, but I was told it's not so good to supplement with folic acid, so I get the unfortified. They taste pretty close to the same. 1/2 cup of mustard. Moments we've been talking, it's already, look at that, getting to be thick. And the reason I'm doing this, aside from the fact that it's good for you for the omega-3 fatty acids, is when the dressing is thick like that, you need less, and it will stick to your greens and your lettuce. And not that there's anything wrong with using a lot of dressing, but I'm cheap. And also, I was raised by a mom who really taught us to love salads with very minimal dressing, and the way you can do that is by using the Ulu chopper that I showed you on a previous webinar on the 8 secrets to superior salad satisfaction, and by cutting your ingredients very small. So I just like it to last a long time, and I love the thickening power of it because it really sticks to the dressing, because very liquidy dressings, like if you use just like a non-reduced vinegar, just it falls right off. So get all that mustard in, and now this, I'm not going to add the chia seeds yet though, because remember what I taught you about certain things, you have to make sure you like it, because if you don't like it, and once you thicken it, that's going to be a problem. So we're going to blend. Go. And I'm just going to taste it to make sure. And you can see it's, I'm just going to drop it on my hand. It's very thin right now. Well, not very thin, but it's thin. Oh, you want some too, huh?
I do. Let's see.
I think it's almost perfect. I would go with, honestly, I would probably go with 1 more pear half, but I don't know. What do you think?
I would put up 1.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put 1 more of these pear halves in, and I think it's going to be perfect, but usually the truth is I always use 5, and I don't know why. I thought, for this shoot, I'll just use 4. See, shot myself in the foot, because my recipe says 5. So it's just weird. It's an odd number, I know. There we go. Oh, but you know what? We didn't have the chia, which there'll be a little bit of sweetening from that. I forgot about that because I used the pear juice, but let's see. I think I'm going to like it better. Yeah, that's fine. I love it. Yep.
Yeah, that one.
It needed just a little. Anyway, so now this is super duper thick now, and it has a little bit more sweetness anyway from the pear. And by the way, it's not a real sweet dressing. I mean, it sounds like it might be, but it's not. And anytime you use, you can, I don't know if you can see this tamper, but you can see how thick it is. Just look at that. Ooh, look at that. So now, I love these little Tupperwares because they're so pretty. You know what, Gustavo, I think I'm going to need the large one, and he's tall enough to reach it.
Yes.
These are just so pretty to put on the table when you have company, and they have a little grip for your hand, and I don't know what they're called, but I can get you a link to my guy. Ooh, look at that. Oh, boy. This is going to make enough for a couple days. Well, no, actually longer.
Yeah, longer.
Look at that. Whoa, beautiful. nice and thick. We can retest it. Let me just push my spoon off. And, oh yeah, baby. And if you want it a little bit less thick, use a tablespoon less chia. That's perfect.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah. Baby, all we need is the salad, right?
And then, yeah.
That is good stuff. Hi there. I'm really excited that I'm going to show you a wonderful entree that can be used for fancy entertaining or really every day because it's not that complicated, but it looks like it takes hours to prepare. This is what I call the McDougall Goldhammer Cauliflower Risotto Sweet Potato Stack. And there is a story behind it, which I'm going to tell you, but I want to get cooking first. So right here I have my pan, and I put a little drop of water in just to see that it's hot enough because I'm going to saute without oil. Now this is that really clever Tupperware gadget that we showed you. It made short work of chopping this shallot, and it stayed in a controlled, closed unit, so you didn't have to tear up like we usually do. Be very careful. This blade is super duper sharp. And I always start out without any water in the pan to do my oil-free saute. Ooh, that was a strong one. And I just mix it around in the pan, and if it starts to burn, which it won't, but if it starts to, get too dry, I can just add just a little bit of water. And that's all you really need. There are some pans that you don't even need to add any water. All different kinds of wonderful cookware. There's waterless cookware, which is quite expensive, but has a lifetime guarantee. I have some of it, and I'm still learning how to use it. This is just a pan I have had for probably 30 years, made by Pampered Chef. It has a lifetime guarantee. Yes, it is non-stick, but if you're not comfortable using that, please feel free to use any kind of stainless steel cookware that you like. I just like the shape and the size of this pan because nothing falls out the side. And you can see it takes very little time to saute or brown. This is actually a shallot. I'm using one shallot. A shallot is a cross between a garlic and an onion. Ooh, that's a strong one. Ooh. But you can see it really takes no time to brown, especially because with that lovely Tupperware food chopper, it made it nice and small. Look at that. Look how quick that was, guys. You don't need oil to saute. I'm doing it on very high heat because that's how I roll, because it takes less time and I get the result I want. So there we go. That's sauteed. And now I'm going to add 12 ounces of riced cauliflower. I'm going to pour it right in. And I'm going to continue to saute. Now, I have seen riced cauliflower everywhere I've been, even in small towns. They have it in the freezer section. They have it in the refrigerated section. Costco sells it very inexpensively. Trader Joe's has it. Everybody has it. If you don't want to, buy it already riced, you can rice it yourself simply by using the shredding blade of the food processor. They even have riced sweet potato now. They have riced broccoli now. This is a great addition to your salads. And you know what I do is just as I go along, if the pan starts to get dry, you add a little water. And if you like to cook with broth, low sodium or no sodium, feel free to use that as well. So I'm just sauteing this. And the riced cauliflower that I got happened to come in a 16-ounce bag. And so I took 12 ounces out, 3/4 of the bag, because I'm going to use the other 4 ounces in the sauce. And the reason is because I am trying to recreate a recipe that I did in an Iron Chef competition, and I'm trying to recreate it as accurately as possible. But realize that when you do an Iron Chef, there's a lot of pressure. You have 20 minutes to create an entree using 3 surprise ingredients, and there's nobody there writing down what you're doing, and you don't have time to even figure out what you're doing. You can see I just add a little water from time to time. Now that we have the cauliflower starting to get soft, I'm going to add some cut up zucchini. This is about 8 ounces. It was like 1 zucchini, just because cauliflower is not the prettiest, vegetable. I mean, it's okay. It looks like rice, but I wanted to add a little bit of color, so I added a zucchini. Now we use this clever little chopper to chop this. We just love this little thing. It's really easy, boom, 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 but you could always cut it by hand if you want, or just use a mandolin. I believe at True North I used a mandolin. Now the cauliflower when I was doing this at True North, wasn't rice, so I actually grated it by hand, and I started sautéing it right away, like I'm doing now. And I'm just going to continue to sauté this a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat down so that I can step away and add a little bit of water, and then I'm going to go and make the sauce. So the idea is this is like a risotto because the riced cauliflower stands in for the rice, but it's even more nutritious because any time we can get people to eat more vegetables in clever and delicious ways, we will. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning. I'm adding a teaspoon of my favorite salt-free seasoning, Benson Table Tasty, but of course if you have seasonings that you prefer or you actually use salt, that's okay, just do that. So I'm adding that now. Ooh, it smells so good. You could even eat this as something, but this is just part of the dish. So let's go over here, and now let me make the sauce. Now again, I'm trying to recreate it not as soon as possible. Yes, as soon as possible. After I got home from True North, I tried to recreate it. But, memories faded. I wrote down what I remembered. And what I know I used was the red bell pepper, because that was a mandatory ingredient. I'm using a roasted one, which you can do if you have a gas stove, or you can buy them already roasted without sugar or anything bad. Well, sometimes they have salt. I think they always do, but I rinse them. So I'm using one roasted red bell pepper, but I've also done this with a fresh when I've recreated it. I added a half a cup, at least that's what I did at True North, of sun-dried tomatoes. This is about 1.5 ounces to it. I remember. Now, when I was doing it at True North, I didn't have any measuring spoons, so I just put stuff in. I know I used smoked paprika, so here's a teaspoon of smoked paprika and 3 cloves of garlic. And I added more cauliflower at True North just to impress Dr. Goldhammer because he likes vegetables in everything. So you need a little bit of water or liquid to blend. So I'm adding half a cup of unsweetened almond milk. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret in a minute about what I really did at True North that had me win. But this is something that I wouldn't use at home. So let me just blend this first. Sauce is done. It's nice and thick. Wow, doesn't this look good, Gustavo? Like we could actually eat it, huh?
I know.
So this is ready now because I want the zucchini to be toothsome. I don't want it to be all, mushy, but I wanted the cauliflower to be a lot softer. And now what I'm going to do, because I did this at True North, is I'm going to stir in another vegetable. Now, today I'm using hearts of palm. At True North, I used water chestnuts, and they both work great. I just want a little bit of crunch. I wanted to look for the bag to show you what the hearts of palm. There we go. Here we go. Let me just show you. So they came like this in this little bag, and of course they had salt, so I soaked them overnight. I just like the taste of them, but I also like the crunch. And again, you can also use water chestnuts. So now my sauce is ready. It's nice and thick, and what I'm going to do is take it and put it in with my risotto. Nice thick sauce. I'm going to stir most of it in. I just want to keep a little bit for a reason. Oh, that's looking really good. Delicious. And again, I made stacks out of these, but you don't have to. So, I'm going to tell you the secret, which is why I know I won. People like fat. And so when I made this at True North, instead of using the unsweetened almond milk, I used the coconut milk. And I know that helped me win and made the sauce delicious. And I also threw in about half a cup of cashews in the blender. So we're allowed to use those things at True North. It's not, especially in a cooking competition. And but for myself, I would not do that. But if you are okay with a little bit higher fat, that will make it actually really, really delicious. So I'm basically just stirring in just to get it nice and red. The reason I'm going to show you, I want to leave a little bit in the blender, is because I want to make just a little bit sauce for the plate. But you're using most of it that you made, all that you can get out. So that's perfect. I'm actually going to just put this on low now. Oh, that looks so good, you guys. we're lucky because it's about lunchtime here, so we're going to get to eat this. So you can see how thick this sauce is, but I wanted to pour a little bit for the next part. So I'm just going to add just a tiny bit of almond milk because I want to be able to use some sauce for the plate. And I'll show you what I mean. There we go. Just going to put this in this little squeeze bottle, which you can get even at like a 99-cent store. You know what? You need a little bit more because it won't. It's got to pour. There we go. Remember, you can always add, you can't take away. That looks good. All right. There we go. And this way you don't waste anything. And by the way, this sauce can be used for other things, not just this dish. So I'm just pouring it in. I could have used my funnel, which was right there. There we go. Now, the most important part, the plating. Oops, I'm going to stir in my hearts of palm or my water chestnuts, whichever you prefer. Or leave them out entirely, you know. I just thought it added a nice little, I try to find ways to use more vegetables. Ooh, looks good. And again, it added a nice crunch. And I would have used water chestnuts, it's just that I live next door to Trader Joe's and they didn't have any. They had this, and it looked the same. Both little white, little crunchy things, so. All right, and I do see them use hearts of palm in many of their salads at True North, so I know it's a compliant ingredient. Oh, I just want to eat this. Haven't eaten yet today, so it looks especially good. There we go. So now, what we're going to do is plate it. Now remember, I have 2 of the secret ingredients in here already, the red bell pepper and the cauliflower. But Mary McDougall picked sweet potato, and we had already had cooked sweet potatoes available there. So I cooked up some Hannah yams. I roasted them. When you're doing this dish, you want to try to get not the little skinny ones because you're presenting it. So I looked for the fattest ones I could find. They weren't real fat right now. So I've got these. I'm going to turn my oven off over here. And I also have some sweet potatoes with the skin off that I used in the dessert recipe. At True North, I used 2 different colors. You don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is show you how to plate it up. So you take the nice fattest slice you can find, and again, these have already been cooked and chilled because if you do them hot, then they won't stand up to it. And I like to take the skin off when I'm presenting them. Oops, but that made it break, but that's okay. I'll stick it together again. I probably should have peeled these when they were hot because then the skin just falls right off. So there we go. Just push it back together. Again, remember what I always teach you. It's not what you can make, it's what you can fix. And then I am going to take, I can't believe I got this done in 20 minutes in True North. Must have been all the adrenaline. I'm going to take a nice scoop of the risotto on top. Look at that, already beautiful. Now, you can double stack it if you want. It just depends if this is an entree, if this is an appetizer. There's nothing wrong with I'm going to show you a couple options. But see, I love, making my plates beautiful. I was a pastry chef, and that was half the deal. That's why desserts were like $9 at the restaurant. So let me just show you a couple more plating options, and I have this other fun idea that I'm going to do. Look at that. You got to take pictures, Gustavo. Isn't that beautiful? If you want to just... However, look at that, guys. Unbelievable, unbelievable. This is so beautiful. But let me just show you if you want to double stack it. That's what we did at True North. Ugh, this is gorgeous. Okay, so if we want to double stack it, what I want to do is I want to make thinner slices, obviously, Right. When I make this for myself, I'm just too lazy. I just kind of put it all in a bowl and eat it. But, of course, we want to present it. And remember, peel your sweet potatoes while they're warm. It's going to be a lot easier, So let's see if I can get this to get to. So the reason I like to use the Hannah is because it's contrast, because that is already red, or orange. So here's how we do it as a stack. And I'm going to show you, another one. Let me get this one. Again, get the fattest ones you can find. Get them to match. It's okay. No sweet potato will go wasted here. A little bit harder when they're... There we go. Okay, get the peel off. Don't waste that. It's organic. I'll eat that. All right. So now, if you want to double stack it, like I did at the competition, not a problem. Then we take a scoop. You'll probably, depending on how many potatoes, you might have more risotto, but you'll just eat that. And then we take another one. That's why we call them stacks. And then we take another scoop. And then again, when you're plating, you always make it beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. Again, however, doesn't have to be all whatever fancy, and you can just what's so fun about these squirt bottles is you can write somebody's name, Gustavo, and put a little heart here for him because we love him. We could not do webinars without him. Look at that. So that's another option. Pretty cool, huh? Now I'm going to do something that I've never done before because that's the way I roll. Is I want to try this really cool tool that was sent to me that I've never used. And, all right, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I got this thing that actually makes stacks, and I probably should have tried it before doing it for you guys. But what the heck?
Oh, that's not nice.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use some of this leftover roasted one because why not? It's going to go in the stack anyway. So let's make it the way I did it at True North. I did an orange layer at the bottom. So do that. And I think I haven't even read the directions, but I'm guessing you probably just push it down, right? Would you? Too bad this isn't interactive. Somebody could teach me. So there we go. I'll just do one layer like this of the orange. Okay. This is going to be amazing if it works, huh, Gustavo?
Mm-hmm.
How did I get it? And then I'm going to do one layer of the risotto. Push it down. Let's hope this works, guys. Then I'm going to put in a layer of the Hana yam. Again, I should have known. Peel it when it's hot, and it falls right off. Okay, let's just get a nice layer on top. Oh, these are my favorite, guys, the Hana. I think I like them better even than the Japanese, even better than the Hawaiian. They're almost too sweet for me sometimes.
I know. Sometimes they're so sweet.
That's why I eat them with broccoli, because it just balances,
right.
You know. That's my favorite lunch, a 2-pound Hana yam and a pound of steamed broccoli. I never get bored of it. I could live on it. And I did it, actually, for a while. So put this in, and boom, boom, boom. Oops, got a little piece as well. It's okay. Let's see. We try to want to make the layers even, you know. So if this comes out as beautiful as I'm hoping, it's going to be amazing. And I would never go to this trouble for myself or Charles. Actually, I did for Charles once, you know, on Valentine's. I made this for him on Valentine's Day. I made him a pretty one, and then I just kind of, you know, put it in a bowl. Okay, so look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is going to work. What if the whole tower falls down, guys? Dun,
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, OMG.
Oh my.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
That is beautiful.
That's an art piece.
This is incredible. So let's just, should I put Mariana? No, I'll just put a little heart here.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that, guys. Unbelievable. I got to send a picture to Mary McDougall. Because she loved the sauce. She took it home. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it.
Mm-hmm.
I call this, named after 2 out of my 3 heroes, the McDougall Goldhammer Cauliflower Risotto Sweet Potato Stack. Ah, can't wait to eat this. We should actually have Gustavo. Why don't we? You should taste it for the
I
people.
should taste it.
But this one we have to take pictures of, so don't eat this one. It's too beautiful.
Yeah, no. Okay, so I'm trying the stack here, and
While I'm eating my vegetables for breakfast, and I'm dying to eat that. Hey, don't touch my vegetables. Those are mine. I don't share.
well,
Is it good? Is it good, Gustavo? It's beautiful. I know that. It's pretty.
it is very good because the combination of the sweet with that.
It's like a restaurant kind of meal.
It is.
It wasn't that hard. So We're going to make a few more stacks.
You've got to try this. Yes. Okay.
I'm
Bye-bye.
going to eat my zucchini first.
Okay.
So now the pièce de résistance, the dessert. Don't think you have to dessert. You can learn to satisfy your sweet tooth without using sugar, using the fruit, the whole fruit, and nothing but the whole fruit. So help you God. So this is going to be a couple of different recipes, actually. There's going to be 3 different variations, and I love versatile recipes that can be more than one thing. Now, what I'm going to do is make the pudding. And thank you, Mairead Reddy, for the inspiration for this, because she has this wonderful recipe called fall pudding that I renamed butterscotch pudding that we showed you on our Thanksgiving or holiday webinar. 2 cups of sweet potatoes that have been roasted. The skin is off, even though they were organic. I ate the skin because for a pudding, you want it nice and creamy. This is a 2-cup measuring cup. I love it. And I always make sure I have some of this on hand because if I want to make a cheese sauce or whatever. So I can't figure out how to get this top off right now, so I'm just putting it in through the little thing, and this is 2 cups.
But if people don't have that,
if you don't have this, then do it in your blender or your food processor, of course. I like giving people options because I think about like, well, what if you go camping, or what if, like it's dirty right now, and plus I'm making such a small amount. This is making such a quick amount. It's just why sometimes schlep it out of your closet, because that's where I keep my blender, because if you don't want to drink smoothies, I don't use it all the time. So now what am I going to use for sweeteners? Well, Gustavo and I recently got back from Sacramento, where he live streamed Healthy Taste of Sacramento with Dr. John McDougall, Mary McDougall, and Dr. Craig McDougall. And you can actually still get that on our website and see the replay. It's fantastic. Dr. Garth Davis was amazing, Dr. Rosanna Oliveira, and Dr. Lyle, of course. And we did an Iron Chef, myself and Ramses Bravo. And as usual, we each won 1 round. And I won the dessert round, and one of the judges was Mary McDougall, one was Andrew Spudford Taylor, and one was the Queen of Sacramento, vegan, Linda Middlesworth, the owner of VDog. And my dessert recipe won. So the secret ingredient for that dessert round was sweet potato. They were orange sweet potatoes, and I believe they wanted us to use rice cakes, which were disgusting, and I did use those, but I'm not using them now because I just don't like the taste. They taste like sawdust. And what was the third ingredient? We're going to have to watch that tape. But anyway, whatever. So I made this stack, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you the pudding part, because the bottom part was rice cakes, but they tasted so nasty, rice cakes mixed with dates, that I had to put cocoa powder in to make it edible, and then I had to put some fat in, some nuts, just to make it edible, because rice cakes are, in my opinion, disgusting. I mean, if you're going to eat something that's 1,800 calories a pound, eat something good, So anyway, I'm not doing the bottom part because it's not UWL, but you certainly could. What I would do if you wanted to do it as a stack, just get my book on process, do my brawny recipe, and just do that. That would be perfect. And I kind of patted it down into like a little circle, and I took my cookie cutter and made little hearts to go around it with that date nut batter. But the pudding was the best part anyway. So what I used for the sweetener was dates, because that's what we had. There was no sugar, oil, or salt, and it was delicious. And I came home and I made it, and it was delicious. You certainly could take pitted dates. If you're not using a blender, if you're using this little machine, you probably want to soak them first, and it was really good. But like I said, I'm trying to get away from dates because people in UWL don't want to use them, and so what's an alternative sweetener? Because we don't want to use sugar or honey or agave or maple syrup or barley malt or blah, 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 or stevia, God forbid. So pears, but not just pears, but roasted pears. We used pears not roasted in our barefoot salad dressing, but to get the sweeter, you need to roast them. Now, by the way, my sweet tooth, even though I was a sugar addict for 43 years, has really gone down. So when I do this for myself, I don't roast the pears. I just use them straight from the jar, unsweetened, and it's fine for me. But my husband, who still unfortunately eats sugar from time to time, it's not sweet enough for him if I don't roast the pears. So I roast them. I'm using this cute little Crispies tray, which I showed you in, I believe it was our webinar number 1 cooking party, where we made crispy breakfast potatoes with onions. I have a larger one as well. This was a present from Jackie Shook. And I just took 1 jar of those pears, which was about 8 pears, well, 8 pear halves, 4 pears, and I just put it on the Crispies tray at about 400, could be 400 to 450, until they started getting a nice little, now this would be like delicious. This would be very sweet. It would be less sweet than a dried pear, but more sweet than a not dried pear. And so how many you put in, it just depends on your sweet tooth. Remember, you can always add, you can't take away. Now I'm going to put them all in because I don't know what else to do with this if I don't, but I'm not going to worry because if it's too sweet, I'll just put more flesh in. Now, we need a seasoning, so it's supposed to have apple pie spice. We forgot it because the topping for the pudding is going to be an apple-based topping. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice or apple pie spice, you can just use cinnamon. So since I'm wanting to go more with the apple, I'm going to use the cinnamon, and I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon. You can always use more or less to taste. I'm going to put this cool little thing on top and see. Well, I got to put, can you adjust the camera, please? Because I can't do it without. Look at that. It's the first couple of pulls that are the hardest. It's like I use this to make salsa. It's super easy. There we go. It's just the first couple of pulls that are difficult, you know? There we go. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Nice thick pudding. Won't even need to be thickened with any chia seeds. And here's the thing, guys. You get a workout this way.
Yes.
You know, who needs electricity? So there we go. It looks pretty much, there we go. And it gets easier as it. But what we also are going to do with it, if I could only figure out how to get this off, is I already made some in advance. Now, you can see it is much creamier when you use your blender. And that's okay. But because of the other part of the recipe, I wanted it thick like that. So it's not going to be creamy like this because I want it more firm. But we have to figure out how to get this out without breaking it. So maybe turning it, you think? There we go. Excellent. And so what we're going to do...
And remember that they don't have to have that...
No, not at all. I'm just,
Yeah.
it's just fun to show you stuff. So what we can do is when you make this pudding, if you make it in the blender, or, it would need the high-powered blender so that you're really, really getting it smooth. What we can do is we can take some oats, and I like to use the gluten-free extra thick cut organic because it's more toothsome. We're going to make one of my favorite things called pumpkin pie bites, and this is something that Dr. Goldhammer actually lets me make, and he approves of. So let's just start. So I mix it in. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to show you what to do in just a second. So what we're doing is we're making like cookies in the dehydrator. I don't know if this will work in the oven because ovens don't take the moisture out. Ovens bake at high temperatures. Lowest oven I've ever seen is 250. Highest dehydrator I've ever seen is 160. And I want this to be able to last a really, really long time because it's something I use for travel. And it's delicious with a cup of tea. Gustavo had it with a cup of mint tea yesterday. Once it was dehydrated, nice and crunchy. Plus, I want it super crunchy. So I'm just trying to get it so that I don't see the oats anymore. This is what I like about this is it's more starchy than sweet. This is what it looks like when it's cookie. Nice and crunchy. Look at that. Delicious, delicious. Oh. I have a filling I could make for these. I wonder if there's time to add it. Oh, actually, you guys might get a bonus recipe, and you might get like an Oreo. So I just thought of it. We have the ingredients. Okay, and then the balls are just super fun. And usually I'll eat 4 of these, like as if I eat them. So that's that. So now, how do we make them finish? Well, we take our dehydrator tray. You always want to start with a Teflex, which is one of these, or a piece of parchment paper, but I think it's wasteful to do that. I like to this is the medium-sized scoop, so to me that's like the perfect size. And you go like that, and then you stick it down, and you have a water source so that if your hand gets sticky, you just push it down like that, and then they're absolutely perfect. Now, I lost my little scoop to show you those balls, but what that would probably be around this size, The thing with the balls is you got to make sure you dehydrate them all the way, and they could be soft on the inside. So, after about 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours, And I dehydrate at the highest temperature. If it's dry to the touch, I remove the Teflex, flip it over, in another 2 to 4 hours, depending on how hot it is outside, how high your dehydrator is, and things like that. So grab a cup of tea and enjoy a pumpkin pie bite, and they're great for travel. Thanks. So we made the pudding already, and here it is, nice and creamy. You don't have to use that little machine. We just wanted to show it to you. It will come out smoother if you use your food processor with your S-Blade. The thing about the blender is a lot of times you need to add liquid, so that's why I think for mousses and puddings I prefer the food processor. You don't have to get the $300 one. I have a $79 Oster one, which is great. But this delicious sweet potato mousse is a recipe unto itself. Would you agree it's sweet enough? Yeah. At first we were like, no, but it is. It really is. And if it's too sweet, you can just cut down on the roasted pears or add more sweet potato. So the topping that we made when I did the Iron Chef was caramelized apples. And we used this clever little machine to chop the apples. I should say that it just makes short, quick time of it. We use this size grate because we want it small. And it's really cool because it says how many cups are in it. And it's about 2 cups, but you don't have to worry about that. So over here in this small saute pan, I should have turned it on in advance, I have a cup of my liquid from the pears that I use from roasting the pears. If you do not want to use this, that's fine. Use water. It'll just be less sweet. There have been times that I didn't have this and I've used unsweetened apple juice. You don't have to use, don't write me about why you're using juice, because they allow me to at True North. And if Dr. Wolfhammer allows it, I'm okay with it. This is what I have. This is what I used. Use water if you don't want. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my apple to that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce it. It's going to cook down, and it's going to be really, really soft and yummy and even sweeter. Now, when we did the Iron Chef at Sacramento, the third mystery ingredient actually was a green apple. And green apples are quite tart. And so, of course, I wanted to reduce it in unsweetened apple juice, which they had available. So I probably should have turned this on before you guys. And again, if you don't like this little cut that we have here, you could always do a different cut. It doesn't matter. Just the idea, I had to do it with a knife when I was there. So we're just going to reduce these down. And you can reduce them in water if you like. And then I'm going to add a half a teaspoon.
But it doesn't have to be a yellow apple.
Oh, that's right. So I'm using a new apple that it's new to me. It's called the Opal apple, and it's delicious. My other favorite apple is the Envy apple, and both these apples are about $1.29. They're expensive apples, but they're so good. But again, if you want it less sweet, use a green apple. They're tart. Now, I had apple pie spice in Sacramento. I forgot to buy it, so I'm just using cinnamon. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon, and you can always add more. I might actually, excuse me, that was a half a teaspoon, so let me just see if that, yes, it's a half a teaspoon that I'm adding to 1 apple, and we're just going to cook this down. And so we're going to throw in a bonus recipe, and since this is a bonus recipe, it may not be 100% for everyone in UWL, because I have to use a few dates in this, because I could not get this sweet by using roasted pears, or maybe roasted pears would have worked, but it just had a weird flavor profile. I couldn't get it sweet enough using bananas. So what I want to do is, for the bonus cookie recipe, the pumpkin pie bite, I want to make a cream filling, kind of make it like an Oreo or a sandwich cookie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 cups of the flesh of the Japanese sweet potato. You guys got to try these game changers. I'm going to put it in my food processor fitted with the S-Blade, and I am going to add, wait, I was going to say smell this. You can smell this. They can't smell it. Half a teaspoon of vanilla powder, because vanilla extract either has alcohol or it has sugar, and I don't want to use either of those, so I use those. And so you can see it's starting to bubble up and boil up. And so why am I using high heat? Well, because it's faster, but also realize when you do an Iron Chef, you have 20 minutes, and you can't be pussyfooting around on low heat, or if you don't get your food plated in time, you're disqualified. So we're just going to let this boil and reduce down Doesn't it smell delicious?
It
I mean,
does.
just the cinnamon and
Just the
apple
cinnamon.
alone. You guys, you could use this as a topping for your banana ice cream or even for fruit. It's absolutely yummy. So going back over here in the food processor, I have the 2 cups of sweet potato flesh from the Japanese sweet potato. I have a half a teaspoon of vanilla powder, and I'm going to add 2 of these. These are 2 tablespoons measure of date paste. I use the recipe on page 165 of Unprocessed. And where is the top? There it is.
You don't need this yet.
I don't need the milk yet because I'm only going to add enough to get it to puree. Stir down the sides. I would say that was not even 1/4 cup because see, I'm trying to get this thick, like almost like a cream filling, like a vanilla frosting. So if I add too much milk, it won't be spreadable the way I want it. You can always add. Remember, you can't take away. You know what happened is a little bit accidentally got on Gustavo's finger too.
I don't know how it got there.
I know, it's weird. It's like it just jumped.
This is magic. It just jumps
Okay,
and it
so
goes.
now we showed you these cookies. Keep them in a nice piece of Tupperware, or this actually is knockoff Tupperware. So here we go. Let us make, well, I wonder if I should make an open-faced one because we could put 2 of these together. Look at this, guys. OMG, that's your frosting. Do you want open-faced, Gustavo, or you want it closed? I think if we close it, this is what it would look like. Obviously, like a sandwich cream cookie, which we probably should do for the photo. But he could then eat it open-faced. Whoa! Well, this one just fell into the food processor. I wish Charles would. Oh gosh, this is so good,
So
you guys.
creamy.
It's ridiculous. This really is. We should call this ridiculous cream filling because it's ridiculous. Look at this. Who says you can't have your cake and eat it too? I'm going to have the man try it though because I haven't actually had my lunch yet. So you can see that the apple is nicely softened and caramelized by the reducing process. And again, this would be delicious on anything. Put this on your oatmeal. Can you imagine this on your morning oatmeal? Wow, it would take it to the next level. So once the liquid is completely reduced, like it is now, you turn it off. And by the way, you could certainly do this with pears. It's just that we already have pears in the main recipe. So now, let's take it off the heat and let's plate it up. I'm using this little dish that looks like an ice cream cone because this is sort of like my version of hot fudge sundae. Not that it's chocolate or ice cream, but the thing I loved about hot fudge sundaes was the cold ice cream and the hot fudge. Well, here we have the cold, delicious sweet potato mousse with roasted pears and the hot apple topping. But by the way, you can cool it. You could eat it cold just as well. So this, I'm taking just 1 scoop. Oops, it's going to need 2 scoops to fill this dish. There we go. I can also plate it on a regular plate. You see how nice and thick this is because we didn't add any liquid. We just did the roasted pears. There we go. And now, for the fun part, I'll let Gustavo have the big dish. Wow. Look at that. Oh, yeah, baby. Ooh, look at that. Cinnamony goodness. Look at that. Is gorgeous. If you wanted to put like a piece of fresh fruit, no reason you couldn't serve it like this. If you wanted to, have people do that. Maybe put a sprig of mint or a piece of fruit next to it, which we don't have right now. So there you have it, the delicious sweet potato mousse with roasted pear and caramelized apples. I know you're going to enjoy this.